Not many people have reached the levels of power and influence that Maureen Jensen has achieved in the mining, regulatory, and financial industries. She has done it with grace and conviction, paving the way for other women to follow in her footsteps.
I have chosen to get involved in areas where I thought there was a problem that could only be solved by putting smart people together, dissecting the problem, and fixing it piece by piece. But through my whole life, I've tried to pick causes or issues that I think would make business better.
Maureen has been a trailblazer in the industry, not only going into what was back in the 70s a male-dominated industry, but having become a CEO of an exploration publicly listed company, and then becoming a trailblazer on the regulatory side of the business.
Born in Winnipeg, Maureen grew up in mining towns as they moved with her father's jobs. Her mother's dream was for Maureen to become a doctor. She was in pre-med when she discovered geology.
I took an elective, geology, and by Christmas time I was hooked. I was going to be a geologist, and my mother cried for 4 years.
Maureen graduated from the University of Toronto with a Bachelor's of Science degree in geology.
I started working in field camps, exploration geology. I really wanted to be out in the bush, and I wanted to find a mine. I didn't find a mine, but I found a wonderful location.
From 1979 to 1998, Maureen continued in mining, working in Canada and South Africa, becoming CEO of Noble Peak Resources. Following that, Maureen was asked to join the TSX, which started her on a new path, leading change on a number of fronts. The first was her contribution to merging markets.
The TSX was merging markets and took over the Vancouver Stock Exchange and the Alberta Stock Exchange and put them into the venture. And so I was part of that whole changeover and moving all of those exchanges over to one trading engine.
At the TSX, Maureen was also a key player on the Mining Standards Task Force, developing new disclosure standards that changed the way mining companies reported resources.
When the task force finished their work, there were 66 recommendations that were made in that report. Out of the 66 recommendations, I got 64 implemented. And one of them was a new securities law for disclosure for mining companies. And that's 43101.
And I think what Maureen brought to the table was not only her experience as being a CEO of a mining exploration company that was publicly listed, but also she understood what was needed from a regulatory perspective.
Maureen was very instrumental in another stage of that because she helped with the Association of Professional Geoscientists of Ontario, and they came up with legislation, which I helped with as well. Legislation to make the APGO a self-regulatory organization in order for geologists within Ontario to be qualified persons for the purposes of doing the technical reports.
With Bill Pearson and the whole team, we formed APGO and lobbied and got a new Geoscientists Act. And now we have licensed over 2,000 or 3,000 licensed geoscientists in Ontario.
From the TSX, Maureen continued her change-making journey when she became president and CEO of Market Regulation Services, which later became IROC.
I started looking at regulation from a bigger picture. So not just the market surveillance and disclosure side, but then also enforcement and looking at all of the trading rules and also doing the examination of trading desks.
With Maureen at the helm, IROC created the first cross-market surveillance platform. In 2011, she became Executive Director and Chief Administrative Officer of the Ontario Securities Commission. In 2016, she became the first female chair and CEO of the OSC.
I'm proud of the team that I put together there. It's incredible that they could look at crypto regulation, cannabis regulation, changing the rules, having new advisor standards, all within 4 years.
Maureen also changed the face of boards across the country by implementing diversity policies for inclusion of women on boards.
When you started looking around corporate Canada, we realized that here we had companies that were retail companies that were serving women and babies, for example. That was their key business. There was not a single woman on the board. I don't believe we should have women on boards just because they're women. They need to be smart, educated, experienced directors who happen to be women.
She wears her passion for the industry on her sleeve as a director, but she's not only focused on the company, but what's important for society. Whenever we have a conversation on ESG, diversity, inclusion, she leads that conversation.
Maureen has contributed to many industry organizations over the years and been the recipient of many awards, including being named to many prestigious lists that recognize influential people. In 2019, she received an honorary law degree from the University of Windsor. Making changes in any industry isn't easy, but Maureen has been steadfast in her commitment to change.
She stood her ground. She didn't blink. She wasn't aggressive and argumentative. She was just thoughtful, strong, and courageous. And she did it. She achieved it.
What you have to do is identify the downside of what you have today. And then you have to break it down into pieces and show how it could be better. And then you have to show how the outcomes are going to be better, because it's all about outcomes.
Retired from the OSC, Maureen continues her work in support of women in business with the Prosperity Project, still has a hand in the financial industry, and is still connected to her first love, the mining industry, as a board member of Franco-Nevada.
The mining industry has a hidden secret. And that hidden secret is the best people in the world. They just are authentic, direct, impassioned, love what they do. But I've seen that everywhere I've gone, whether you're in management or whether you're working right in the bush. It's all about people.